Nebraska made a very notable junior college offer. In fact, they made a couple this week, but I want to hit on this one first. Former Texas A&M 5-star wide receiver Demas was offered by Nebraska this week. He was dismissed from College Station for an assault deal, and that has gone through the legal process and has moved forward where he'll be done with. There was no formal charges that came down on him, and he's completed a probationary period. Nebraska offered Demas his first scholarship of any team since the incident. He's at Garden City Community College, plays for Ron Mimick, who was the coach of several other Husker players at Arizona Western.
Yep.
But this is interesting because they need receivers for next year.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, Billy Kemp's a senior. Marcus Washington, we don't know his status moving forward. So that situation there, and they've kind of gone, they've made a move here on a guy that has ability, but obviously has baggage.
Right. And, we have this discussion a lot, and we've had it over the years. It's a little hot buttony. I'm of the mind that Nebraska has to take chances like this.
They're not getting a 5-star like Demas the traditional way.
Right. So, and I'm sure it's been fully vetted. They feel comfortable with this. There's always risk. I mean, and they understand there appearances that aren't perfect, but you said it. I mean, there's a need. Okay. And I think there's a pure need in that your wide receiver room isn't loaded with talent right now. And then there's the other need of what you said. Can't emphasize it enough. It's hard for Nebraska to go get these guys straight up against Texas and Ohio State and USC
Georgia.
And Oklahoma and Georgia and Alabama. It's hard to get them straight up now.
Coming out of high school, Demas was ranked higher than Jackson Smith-Ojigbo.
Yeah.
That's all you got to know. I mean, his ability,
you talk to him.
Yeah, 6'3", 200 plus pounds. And, that's why we went on the road. People always like, why do you guys go to these satellite camps and things? Because they're just stocks that keep producing dividends.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that we got out of that trip to Houston. I met Demas just standing on a Friday. Well, I don't know what night it was, but it was an evening night on a sideline in Houston.
Yeah.
And introduced myself. We started talking. And then Nebraska's coaches started talking to him after we were done talking. And he was on their radar. And there's no doubt they wanted to kind of see how things shook out with this legal issue and how things have gone for him at Garden City. And things are on track. And when they offered him a scholarship, the entire staff was on speakerphone.
Is that right?
So this was a priority.
That's a priority, all right.
And he said that he more or less said he's committed right now.
Really?
He wants to get up there. He goes, I've never been to Nebraska before. I want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
The next opportunity for him to get here is probably the Iowa game. So I would imagine, I think there's
that could be a big game.
I'll say this. I think there's a better than 50% chance that he's a starter for Nebraska next year.
Really?
Well, if he comes here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If he comes here.
Well, and he's going to, I think. I think Nebraska offering first, and JUCO guys play all the way through Thanksgiving. So there's really not a lot of weeks for them to come on visits. So I think Nebraska made a calculated first shot on him. And, they researched the situation and kind of what's come out of it. And like his coach said, you can read Google and decide whatever way you want to go on this thing. But his coach, Ron Mimick, spoke, very highly of what he's seen from Demas, and we'll see if that translates.
I like it because, and I like the fact he's right down there at Garden, really close. He's used to the Midwest now. It wouldn't be a big adjustment for him. Very similar situation. I mean, similar, at least environment. Now you're moving into a big time program and you're playing a big time conference, but he's got the kind of talent that can handle that.
I've had a lot of people try to compare this to the Arik Gilbert situation, and I think they're completely different. First of all, Arik Gilbert never had any legal issues.
Right.
He had personal mental health issues.
Right.
And
way different.
And what happened became a legal issue, but none of that was ever an issue before it happened in Lincoln.
Right.
And the mental health issues, obviously, he battled led to what happened.
Yeah. Some of this, Sean, doesn't it come down to if you're a fan concerned about Demas's background, to a large extent, you just have to trust the head coach here, right? have to trust that it's been vetted, that it's not just, this isn't a whimsical decision. So I happen to trust Matt Rule. And not only Rule, though, there's an apparatus here that's very supportive, right, Sean? I mean, there's team psychologists. There's a big staff here that tries doing, an academic staff, et cetera, that tries to ensure that this sort of thing can transpire smoothly. They put everything's in place for it to work. It doesn't always work. It didn't work with Maurice Washington, right? It didn't work.
It didn't work with Xavier Betts. It didn't work with.
Not really. No.
I mean,
no, it didn't.
They thought it worked.
Right.
They got him on track, and he still quit.
Right. So you don't know.
I think in a situation like this, so I'm fascinated by one guy on the staff, Jarrett Wishon.
Yeah.
The assistant to the head coach for Matt Rule. He has a deep law enforcement background, and he's kind of Rule's right-hand man, but he was a special agent and criminal investigator for the ATF. Also was a detective for the Charlotte Police Department for 9 years. So when you need somebody to kind of sniff out a situation, that's a pretty good guy on your staff that can help you. And I don't know that's the case in the situation, but Rule has people around him on his staff that, if they need to find out things, they know how to find out things.
Yeah, that might be helpful. That might be helpful.
So that's what I need to. Before I hired you, I had to have a guy like that.
Oh my God, Sean.